The late summer air carried the faintest trace of warmth as Emily Harper pressed her forehead to the cool glass of the shuttle bus window. Beyond the glass stretched the endless sweep of mountains, their peaks crowned with mist, their valleys humming with the hush of hidden rivers. The road curved upward like a ribbon spun from silver, leading her to a place she had dreamed of but never truly believed she would reach. Her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted the straps of her worn backpack, the same one she had carried through years of quiet libraries, shadowed corners of classrooms, and the long nights she had spent hunched over books when the world outside her window slept. She whispered to herself, barely audible, "This is it." Her voice was shaky but soft, like the tender murmur of hope. The bus groaned to a stop before the iron gates of Lupus University. Emily stepped down, her sneakers crunching against gravel that sparkled faintly under the pale August sun. The campus rose before her. Ancient Gothic spires that pierced the sky, arched windows glowing with amber light, and ivy twisting upward as if it too longed for the heavens. It was beautiful, intimidating, and otherworldly all at once. For a moment, she simply stood there, letting her breath steady, letting the healing rhythm of her heartbeat remind her she was alive and present. She had made it. She had left behind the narrow streets of her small town, the scent of cardboard and cinnamon from the shop her foster family had run, and the feeling of being invisible even in a crowd. Now she was here, in a place filled with possibility. The air was laced with pine and something sharper, metallic, strange. It slid into her lungs, unfamiliar, and she wondered if every breath she took on this campus would change her, piece by piece, into someone new. Students moved past her in graceful waves. Some laughed, their voices too bright, too sharp, as though echoing from somewhere beyond the ordinary. Others carried themselves with a predatory ease that made her skin prickle, like she was being measured, weighed, and tested without a word being spoken. She hugged her backpack closer, reminding herself she had earned this. She wasn't here by accident. She had a scholarship. She had fought for this chance, and she belonged, or at least she hoped she did. A soft chime rang from somewhere unseen, like the tolling of a bell deep in the marrow of the school. It vibrated through her, and for a fleeting second she felt as if the campus itself was greeting her. "Welcome, child. Welcome home." The thought brushed through her mind, unbidden, like a whisper carried on wind. Shaking it off, she turned toward the dorms. Wolfbane Hall loomed in the distance, its stone walls weathered but strong, its windows glinting like watchful eyes. The name alone made her pause Wolfbane. She told herself it was just tradition, an old-fashioned naming style, but a sliver of unease coiled in her stomach as she climbed the steps. Inside, the hall smelled faintly of dust and wood polish, of old lives lived within these walls. She dragged her suitcase up the creaking stairs to the 3rd floor, room 3-12. The door was heavy, as though it carried centuries of secrets, but it opened with a groan. Light spilled across the room, illuminating a girl with wild red curls kneeling beside a half-unpacked suitcase. Trinkets glittered in the sunlight, scarves, strange charms, pendants that glowed faintly when the light caught them just so. The girl turned, her green eyes bright as summer leaves. "You must be Emily," she said warmly, springing to her feet with a grin. "I'm Lily. Welcome to the chaos." Emily laughed softly, a release of tension she hadn't realized she'd been carrying. She shook Lily's outstretched hand, grateful for its warmth. Nice to meet you. This place is intense. Lily's laughter chimed like wind through glass. Oh, you have no idea. Stick with me, and you'll survive the first week. Maybe. There was kindness in her eyes, the kind that eased Emily's nerves. She felt an unexpected sense of healing, as if something inside her that had always been frayed at the edges had been gently smoothed. They talked as they unpacked, about small towns and strange hobbies, about books and music and little secrets that strangers can sometimes confess more easily than friends who have known you for years. Emily found herself smiling, a soft blooming in her chest she hadn't felt in a long time. But still, beneath it all, the unease lingered. Whispers trailed through the corridors, sharp like knives. The laughter of passing students felt too sharp, too knowing. And when she finally sat with Lily in the great hall for orientation, she felt it again. That gaze. Across the crowd, a tall boy with dark hair and eyes like liquid amber was watching her. His presence was magnetic, his expression unreadable. Her breath hitched, her pulse stumbling, as if it recognized him before her mind could. She looked away, cheeks warming, but found herself drawn back, as if gravity itself had shifted. "Careful," Lily whispered, nudging her arm. "That's James Blackwood. Trouble wrapped in a beautiful package." Emily laughed nervously. "I'm not looking for trouble, just trying to survive." But as the dean's voice echoed through the hall, her words rang hollow inside her chest. She couldn't shake the feeling that trouble had already found her, that it was waiting, patient and inevitable, like the tide. The night came softly. In her dorm, with Lily humming as she arranged her scarves, Emily lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. She closed her eyes, trying to summon peace. She told herself she was safe, that this was the beginning of something new, that healing could come from change. But the memory of those amber eyes haunted her, flickering in the darkness. And for the first time in years, she whispered a prayer she hadn't prayed since childhood, not to any god she knew, but to the universe itself. "Please, let me belong here. Let me find love and light and healing." The silence that answered was not empty. It was full, humming, alive. She drifted into sleep with her heart trembling like a bird at the edge of flight. The morning light crept through the narrow dorm window, soft and golden, carrying with it the promise of beginnings that felt both fragile and infinite. Emily stirred, rubbing the sleep from her eyes. For a moment, she forgot where she was. The ceiling above her was unfamiliar, high, carved with wooden beams that had stood for centuries. The scent in the air was of old stone and pine drifting in from the mountains, mixed with something else, something faintly metallic, like secrets waiting in the walls. Lily was already awake, perched cross-legged on her bed, humming a tune as her fingers twisted strands of her fiery curls into a loose braid. Her necklaces caught the light, pendants glowing as if alive. When Emily finally sat up, Lily turned with a mischievous grin. "Rise and shine, scholarship girl. Ready to face the madness?" Emily laughed softly, though her stomach fluttered with nerves. "As ready as I'll ever be." She reached for her sweater, tugging it over her head, letting the warmth ground her. Her heart thumped with both fear and wonder. Today was her first real day at Lupus University. The thought alone sent ripples through her chest. They walked together down the creaking stairwell, their footsteps echoing like whispers from generations past. Outside, the campus was alive. Students drifted across the quad, their movements graceful, deliberate, as though each step had been practiced in a secret dance. Emily tried not to stare, but couldn't help noticing the way some of them looked at her, lingering, curious, their eyes sharp in ways that unsettled her. Moonstone Hall stood ahead, tall and austere, its arched windows catching the light of dawn. The words, "Introduction to Literature," were etched on her schedule, and she clutched her notebook as though it were armor. Inside, the classroom was a strange mixture of the ancient and the modern. Sleek desks stood beneath walls draped in faded tapestries, their patterns depicting moons and wolves, stars and roots. Emily chose a seat near the front, Lily settling beside her. She tried to steady her breath, reminding herself that she loved stories, that literature was her safe harbor. But even here, the undercurrent of strangeness tugged at her. A girl with pale skin and eyes like onyx watched her without blinking, and across the room James Blackwood lounged with a careless grace that made her heart skip. Their professor, Dr. Hawthorne, entered, wiry, sharp-eyed, and brimming with the kind of intensity that made you sit straighter without realizing. "Today," he began, "we speak of Gothic literature, of monsters and the humans who create them, of shadows that walk beside us, reflections of our fears." His words sank into Emily's chest like stones in a river, heavy yet oddly soothing. She scribbled notes, though her focus kept drifting to the figures around her. James whispered something to the broad-shouldered boy beside him, and they both chuckled. When Emily glanced up, his amber gaze caught hers across the room. For a heartbeat, everything stilled. Her breath faltered, her chest tightened, and warmth bloomed where their eyes met. He didn't smile, but he didn't look away. It was a gaze that felt ancient, like a story already written in the stars. She dropped her eyes quickly, cheeks burning. Lily nudged her. "Careful," she whispered, a teasing lilt in her voice. "The pack notices everything, especially him." Emily tried to focus on the professor's lecture, but her thoughts spiraled. She wasn't sure what was more unsettling, the way James looked at her as if she were something rare, or the way it made her want to look back. After class, the sunlight spilled warmly onto the quad. Students lounged under oak trees older than the nation itself, their laughter lilting through the air. Lily dragged Emily to the grass and flopped down, her notebook already open, sketching the outline of leaves. "Okay, spill," she said, her green eyes glinting with playful suspicion. "What's going on with you and James?" Emily groaned, flopping onto her back. The sky stretched endless above, a patchwork of blue and drifting clouds. "Nothing is going on. He just looks at me." "Exactly," Lily said, smirking. "That's something. Around here, looks mean more than you think." Emily pressed her palms to her face, embarrassed. She wasn't here to fall into some campus romance, especially not with a boy wrapped in mystery and whispers. She was here to study, to belong, to build a life she could finally claim as her own. Yet her heart betrayed her, racing every time his name crossed her thoughts. Their next class took them to the greenhouse, where glass walls shimmered with condensation and exotic plants stretched toward the light. The air was thick with damp earth and herbs whose scents curled around Emily like unseen hands. Lily came alive here, her voice bright as she chatted with the professor about moonroot and bloodvine. Emily tried to follow, but the terminology sounded more like riddles than science. When she glanced around, she noticed again the way some students looked at her, not cruelly, not kindly, but with a curiosity that pressed against her skin. She forced herself to smile, to pretend she belonged. She reminded herself with gentle, healing thoughts. Breathe. You are not out of place. You are where you are meant to be. At lunch, they joined a table with Lily's friends. A quiet girl named Mia studied Emily with an intensity that made her shift uncomfortably. "You're the scholarship kid, right?" Mia asked, her voice delicate but probing. "Yeah," Emily answered, forcing a smile. "Just trying to keep up." "You'll do fine," Mia said, though her tone carried a shadow of doubt. Across the dining hall, James and his group entered, the energy in the room shifting with their presence. Emily's eyes betrayed her, flicking toward him. The girl beside him, sharp features, dark hair, glared at her openly. James said something, shook his head, and his gaze found Emily again. Her chest tightened. She turned back to her food, stabbing at it without appetite. "Lily," she whispered, "why does everyone keep staring at me?" "New kid syndrome," Lily replied, though her eyes flickered with something more guarded. "Plus, you're different. They notice." "Different how?" Emily pressed, but Lily only gave a small, enigmatic smile. That night, back in their dorm, Emily lay awake long after Lily's breathing had softened into sleep. The darkness pressed close, filled with whispers of things unsaid. Her arm still ached faintly from carrying her suitcase. Her heart still raced from James's gaze, and her mind spiraled with questions that had no answers. She turned toward the window, where the moonlight spilled in like liquid silver. Her chest rose and fell in rhythm with the light, and she whispered softly into the silence, words she hoped might carry beyond herself. "I want to belong. I want to find love that heals, not hurts. I want to be seen for who I am, not what I lack." The night did not answer in words, but something in the stillness shifted. The shadows seemed less heavy, the air less cold. A gentle warmth settled over her, not from blankets or lamps, but from within her own spirit. It was fragile, like the first spark of a candle, but it glowed. Emily closed her eyes, cradling that spark. Tomorrow would bring new questions, perhaps new dangers, but also, perhaps, new beginnings. She drifted into dreams, her heart a fragile but steady flame, waiting to be fanned into something brighter. The woods called to her that Friday evening, their ancient branches swaying like arms heavy with memory. Emily wrapped her sweater tighter around her and told Lily she only needed a breath of fresh air. Her roommate frowned, worry written across her freckled face, but she let her go with a warning. "Stay on the paths. Come back before dark." The air was crisp, filled with pine and damp earth. Each step crunched over fallen leaves, the sound echoing like a heartbeat in the quiet. For the first time since arriving at Lupus University, Emily felt something close to peace. Here, in the stillness of the forest, no one stared, no whispers followed her, no heavy amber eyes pinned her in place. But peace, like glass, is fragile. The shadows thickened as the sun dipped lower, painting the sky with streaks of crimson and gold. A prickle ran down her spine, that instinct older than language, whispering that she was not alone. She turned, her breath catching, At first there was nothing, only the sway of branches, the hush of leaves. Then, low, guttural, unmistakable, a growl. Her body stiffened. "Who's there?" she whispered, though she already knew no human would answer. The growl came again, closer. She stumbled back, her shoe catching on a root. And then the shape leapt from the darkness, taller than a man, eyes burning red, claws gleaming. Emily's scream ripped through the trees, raw and trembling. The creature's swipe tore through her jacket, grazing her arm, leaving fire in its wake. And then a voice, rough, commanding, "Stay down!" Another shape lunged, faster, stronger. The clash was a blur of snarls and claws, amber eyes flashing in the dark. It was James. He fought with a feral grace that was both terrifying and beautiful, every move sharp and purposeful. He drove the beast back until it melted into shadow, its growls fading into silence. Emily lay frozen, her breath ragged, her arm stinging. James turned to her, chest heaving, face fierce, yet softened by concern. "Are you hurt?" I think so," she stammered, pressing her hand to the shallow wound. "You shouldn't be out here alone," he said, his voice low, anger and worry tangled together. "Those things are dangerous." "What was that?" Her fear burned into anger. "And how did you know I was here?" His jaw tightened. "I heard you scream." "That creature. It's not something you need to worry about. Not yet." "Not yet," she snapped. "It tried to kill me." His eyes softened, though shadows lingered there. He reached down, offering his hand. For a moment, Emily hesitated. Then she placed her palm in his. Heat surged through her, something beyond fear, beyond logic. He pulled her gently to her feet, his grip steady, grounding, almost healing. They walked back in silence, the lights of campus flickering through the trees like stars fallen to earth. When they reached Wolfbane Hall, Lily was waiting outside, her face pale. "Em, what happened?" "You're bleeding." Emily tried to brush it off. "It's nothing. Something attacked me in the woods." James helped. Lily's gaze darted to him, suspicion sharp in her eyes. "You okay, Em?" Emily nodded. "Thanks to him." She glanced at James, but his expression was unreadable. "Get that cleaned up," he said curtly. He turned to leave, disappearing into the night like mist. "Wait!" Emily called, desperation slipping through her voice. "Why won't you tell me what that was?" He paused, his back to her. "Some things you're better off not knowing. For now." And then he was gone. Inside, Lily cleaned the wound, her hands gentle, but her eyes troubled. "You're lucky he was there," she murmured. "Everyone's hiding something," Emily whispered, frustration thick in her throat. "It's not my place to tell," Lily said softly, wrapping the bandage with steady fingers. "But trust me, Em. Stick to the campus for now. Please." That night, Emily couldn't sleep. The memory of glowing eyes haunted her, the echo of James's words tangled with the sharp ache in her arm. Not yet. He knew more. They all knew more. And she was determined to find out. Monday came heavy with grey clouds, and Emily's thoughts were far from the lecture on Frankenstein. Her bandaged arm throbbed beneath her sleeve, a constant reminder. She had barely seen James since that night, but absence only sharpened her questions. Who was he, really? And what kind of world had she stumbled into? Lily slipped her a note during class. "Stop daydreaming." "You okay?" Emily scribbled back. "Fine. Just thinking." But she wasn't fine. Every glance from her classmates felt weighted, their whispers pressed against her like invisible chains. After class, she overheard two students near a locker. "She's human, right? Why is she even here?" "The pack's watching her," the other muttered. "Something's off." Emily's stomach knotted. The pack. James's pack. The words struck her like thunder. She fled to the quad, where Lily sat sketching plants. "I need to know what's going on," Emily said, her voice urgent. "I heard people talking about a pack and me being human. What does that mean?" Lily's pencil froze. She glanced around, then leaned closer. "Okay, Em. You deserve answers." "But promise me you'll keep this quiet." Emily nodded, her heart pounding. "This school isn't just for humans," Lily whispered. "Most students here aren't. They're werewolves, vampires, witches. Lupus is a safe haven for us." Emily blinked. "You're saying you're one of them?" "I'm a witch," Lily said steadily. "Not broomsticks and wands, but real magic. Herbs, spells. That's my world." Emily's breath caught. She wanted to laugh, to dismiss it, but Lily's eyes were too serious. "And James?" she asked. Lily hesitated. "He's a werewolf. His pack runs this place. They're intense." Emily stared at the grass, her mind spiraling. Werewolves, vampires, witches. It sounded impossible, like a story spun from old myths. And yet, she remembered James's eyes glowing amber in the dark, his strength against the creature, the way something inside her seemed to hum in response. Her skin prickled. "Why am I here, then?" "I'm just human, right?" Lily's fingers tightened around her pendant, eyes troubled. "That's the thing. Most humans don't get scholarships here. There's something about you, Em. I don't know what, but others sense it too." Emily's pulse quickened. "Something about me?" Before Lily could say more, Ava, James's sharp-featured sister, appeared, her eyes cold as winter. "Stay out of trouble, human," she hissed. "You don't belong here." Emily's fists clenched. "I didn't ask for any of this." Ava's gaze lingered like a blade before she turned and stalked away. Emily's chest ached, torn between fear and defiance. She whispered more to herself than to Lily. "I'm not going to run. Whatever this is, I need to know who I am." Lily reached out, squeezing her hand with quiet warmth. "And you won't do it alone. I've got you." For the first time since stepping onto campus, Emily let herself lean into that small gift of healing. Friendship. But in the silence that followed, her heart whispered another truth she could not ignore. She was already entangled in something greater, something dangerous. And at its center burned the amber gaze of James Blackwood. The crisp edge of autumn settled over the campus like a second skin, painting the trees in shades of amber and gold. Yet beneath the beauty lurked an unease that clung to Emily like a shadow. She walked with her books pressed to her chest, the bandage beneath her sweater a faint reminder of the night in the woods. Students passed by, their voices carrying laughter, but she could feel the subtle weight of their stares, curiosity sharpened into something more, James had not spoken to her since that night. He was present in the way one feels the nearness of a storm, a tension in the air that both frightens and draws you closer. Sometimes, in class, she would look up and find his amber eyes fixed on her, unblinking, unreadable. Each glance felt like a secret being whispered across the room, a question without an answer. Lily noticed. She always noticed. "You're drifting again," her roommate teased one afternoon as they sat beneath the old oak tree, sketchbooks open. "Let me guess, dark eyes, brooding posture, hair that falls just so?" Emily flushed, tearing her gaze away from the literature building where she had just glimpsed James passing by. "It's not like that." "Of course not," Lily said, her voice light but her smile knowing. "And yet, you can't look away." Emily sighed, pressing a leaf flat between the pages of her notebook. "It's complicated. He saved me, Lily. But he's also hiding something. They're all hiding something. And Ava, she hates me." "She's protective," Lily murmured. "She lost more than you know. But hate? No. Distrust, maybe. Fear, even. You're different, Em. That unsettles them. Different." The word echoed. It had been following her since the first day. That evening, in the library's labyrinth of dusty shelves, Emily sought answers. She ran her fingers across ancient spines, searching for something that could explain why she was here. In a corner labelled Mythic Histories, she found a brittle book, Chronicles of the Veil. A passage caught her breath. "The hybrid, born of mortal and other, shall bridge the worlds or tear them asunder." Hybrid. Her pulse thundered. Could it mean her? "Curious reading for a freshman," a voice said, startling her. Emily turned to see Professor Marrow, the librarian, her silver hair braided tight, eyes sharp as a hawk's. I'm researching for class," Emily stammered. Marrow's smile was thin. "Of course. Be cautious, Miss Harper. Some knowledge is heavy to carry." Her gaze lingered, piercing, before she vanished down the aisle, robes whispering like smoke. Emily's hands trembled as she returned the book. Her heart ached for truth, but fear pressed heavy on her chest. She thought of Lily's warmth, of the way her friend's healing laughter softened the world, and of James's eyes in the dark, feral and gentle all at once. That night, Lily found her restless. "What's wrong?" she asked, climbing onto Emily's bed with the ease of a sister. Emily hesitated, then whispered, "I think I might not be human." Lily's expression softened, no trace of mockery, only quiet understanding. "I wondered if you'd felt it. Things move around you, Em. Lights flicker, your emotions. They ripple outward. It's not nothing. It's power." "I don't want power," Emily said, her voice trembling. "I just want to belong." "You do," Lily promised, squeezing her hand. "To me. To us. Healing comes from being seen. Even when the world wants to call you strange, you're not alone." Emily felt tears sting her eyes, but she let the words wrap around her like a blanket. She wasn't alone. Still, that night, her dreams filled with shadows. Eyes glowing red, claws reaching, whispers calling her name. And through the storm of fear stood James, his hand outstretched, amber gaze steady. The days blurred into a rhythm of lectures, whispered warnings, and stolen glances. Emily began to practice with Lily in secret, coaxing sparks of magic from within her. At first, it was clumsy. Candles flaring too bright, feathers twitching only to fall lifeless. But slowly, she began to feel control. Each success was a balm, each failure softened by Lily's laughter and encouragement. "You're healing, Em," Lily told her one evening as a candle lit obediently at her touch. "Piece by piece, you're finding yourself." But with growth came danger. During lunch in the grand hall, Emily felt the weight of another stare, dark, smooth, unsettling. A boy she had never seen before slipped into the room, pale skin gleaming beneath jet-black hair, his movements liquid as shadow. His eyes locked on hers with a smile that was both charming and predatory. Lily stiffened. "Sebastian Vale," she hissed under her breath. "Vampire, stay away." Emily tried, but later he found her in the hall. "You're Emily Harper," he said, his voice velvet and smoke. "The girl everyone's whispering about." Emily clutched her books tighter. "I don't know what you mean." "Oh, I think you do," Sebastian said, leaning closer. "Power hums in you. Untamed. Beautiful. I could help you harness it." Before she could answer, Lily appeared, stepping between them, her pendant glowing faintly. "She's not interested." Sebastian smiled, unbothered. "We'll see." He winked at Emily before slipping into the shadows. Her heart hammered. If James was a storm, Sebastian was a fire. Dangerous, mesmerizing, impossible to ignore. That night, Emily confessed the encounter to Lily, who gripped her shoulders fiercely. "He'll use you, me." "Promise me you won't let him." Emily promised, but as she lay awake, Sebastian's words echoed. "Power hums in you." She had never wanted power, only healing, belonging, love. But what if power was the only way to survive here? The next day, in literature class, fate tangled their threads again. Dr. Hawthorne announced group projects pairing Emily and Lily with James and Sebastian. The air tightened around her. James's jaw clenched, his amber eyes burning with warning. Sebastian only smiled, settling into his chair with predatory ease. As they discussed Frankenstein, the conversation spiraled, sharp with undercurrents. "Monsters," Sebastian drawled, "are only frightening because they reflect what we deny in ourselves." His gaze flicked to Emily. "And some of us are more honest about what we are." James bristled, but Emily's voice was steady. "Maybe monsters are just misunderstood. Maybe what we call monsters are really just people searching for love." For the first time, James's eyes softened. A small smile, fleeting but real, curved his lips. Sebastian only laughed, low and amused. When class ended, James lingered. "Be careful," he said quietly. "He's dangerous." Emily met his gaze, her chest tightening. "So are you." The corner of his mouth lifted. Fair point. Then he was gone, leaving her heart aching with questions she wasn't ready to answer. That evening, Lily found her beneath the oak tree. "So," she teased gently, "two men drawn to you like moths to flame. What are you going to do, Em?" Emily closed her eyes, leaning back against the rough bark. "I didn't come here for this. I just wanted to belong, to find healing. And now I feel like I'm standing at the edge of something vast, and I don't know if it will save me or destroy me." Lily reached for her hand, squeezing softly. Maybe it'll do both. But you don't have to face it alone. For a long moment, Emily let herself rest in that truth. The night air was cool, the stars scattered like blessings overhead. The world was uncertain, but here, under the old oak, she felt something like hope, and though she would never admit it aloud, her heart whispered the name it had already chosen, over and over, like a prayer. James. The storm came on a Sunday evening, clouds rolling over the mountains like an army, their bellies bruised with lightning. Emily stood by the dorm window, her breath fogging the glass as she watched the sky split open. The storm was not just in the heavens, it was in her chest, her pulse unsteady, her thoughts tangled with the faces of those who now defined her world. James, with his steady hands and eyes like molten amber, fierce and tender all at once. Lily, with her laughter like bells and her healing presence that reminded Emily she was never alone. And Sebastian, whose smile was a dagger wrapped in velvet, whose words still lingered like smoke in her lungs. The night of the attack still haunted her. The creatures with eyes of fire, the way her magic had surged out of her like a river breaking its dam. She had tasted power, and it terrified her. But it had also saved her. When the knock came at her door, she already knew who it was. She felt him before she saw him, the air shifting, her heart leaping. James. He stood in the hallway, rain dripping from his hair, his shirt clinging to him in ways she tried not to notice. His expression was guarded, yet his eyes burned with something that softened her. "We need to talk," he said. Inside, with Lily away at her study group, the room was quiet but charged. James paced once, then stopped. "The council is restless. They're watching you, Emily. And those creatures, they're drawn to you. We don't know why, but—" He trailed off, fists clenched. Emily rose slowly, her fingers twisting in the hem of her sweater. "But you think it's because of me? Because of what I am?" His gaze snapped to hers. "I don't care what you are." He stepped closer, every inch of him vibrating with barely restrained emotion. "I care that you're safe. Do you understand? That's all that matters to me." Her breath caught. The storm outside cracked, lightning flashing across his face. She saw not just the fierce leader, not just the werewolf. She saw the boy who had lost his parents, who carried burdens far heavier than his years, who still found the strength to stand before her and promise protection. "You can't always protect me," she whispered, though her voice trembled. "I have to learn to protect myself." "I know," he admitted, softer now, "but let me stand with you. Don't shut me out." Something inside her broke open then, a tenderness she had tried to keep buried. She reached up, brushing a raindrop from his cheek with trembling fingers. And his eyes closed at the touch, as though it healed something he had long carried. When his lips found hers, it was not fire, not hunger. It was storm and shelter all at once. The kiss was grounding, aching, tender. It told her she belonged here, that even in the chaos she had found a center. Her hands curled into his shirt, and for a moment the storm outside was only a reflection of the storm within. They parted breathless, the world remade in the space between them. "James," she whispered, his name tasting like a vow. He rested his forehead against hers, his voice rough but steady. "Whatever comes, we face it together." The storm raged on, but Emily felt something within her shift, fear giving way to strength, doubt giving way to love. She was no longer the girl who had stepped off the bus, clutching her backpack like a shield. She was something more, something untested but undeniable. Lily returned later to find Emily curled on her bed, eyes shining, lips curved in a secret smile. She didn't ask, only smiled knowingly and whispered, "Healing comes in many forms, Em. Sometimes it comes with laughter, sometimes with magic, and sometimes it comes with love." Emily closed her eyes, letting those words sink deep. She knew the road ahead was tangled with danger and shadow. The council would not stop watching. The creatures would not stop hunting. And Sebastian, he was not finished with her yet. But she also knew this: she was not alone. She had Lily's friendship, fierce and unbreakable. She had James's love, raw and protective, a bond forged in fire and fear, but steady as stone. And she had herself, the spark of magic that had once terrified her, now a beacon she was learning to embrace. She whispered into the night, a prayer not of desperation, but of gratitude. "Thank you for this. Thank you for the healing. Thank you for the love." And the night whispered back in its silence, "You are not alone." As the storm faded into quiet dawn, Emily felt the world open before her. The story was only beginning. But for the first time, she believed she was ready to write it. If you felt the warmth in Emily's journey, her search for belonging, for love, for healing, let me know your thoughts below. Drop a comment, share this story with someone who needs a touch of comfort, and don't forget to like and subscribe so we can keep walking together through tales of light, love, and mystery.